My guest on Armchair Interviews is an author, a filmmaker, a YouTube broadcaster, and an artist. In his books Truth Proof 1 to 4, he writes about his own and people's experiences as well as places that produce high strangeness in the areas he investigates. He is a very active boots on the ground investigator and researcher. Listen to him talk about some of his experiences when growing up to present day, plus some of the things he has written about in his books. Please welcome Paul Sinclair.
So you asked me what I'm about. How did I get involved in this subject? I think I've always been involved in it, to be honest, mate. Yeah. I can't remember a time when I've not thought about the unexplained, let's put it that way. But you might not have realised how deep you were involved in it in them early days. How could you? You know? I suppose it's only you've got kind of got to mature as a person, as a man, before you start to sit down and your thoughts level out and you realise some of the things that have happened to you in your early life are really strange. I mean, so much so that I ended up writing Night People. They're probably Night People that made me sort of realise just how the true extent of the amount of stuff that's happened. As I say, I never set off with intention of even writing this Truth Proof book, even becoming involved in subject to UFOs and unexplained on a more open level with people. It were always for myself. So when I left school at 16, became a joiner. Was I interested in this? Yeah, of course I was, because of what I'd seen in childhood. But it's only when I started collecting other people's reports and trying to reference things and match them up with things that had happened to me that I realised that just how entrenched I were in the subject. It's just kind of a long way around to get at it, but yeah, it's 24/7. Mary, my wife, sat in the house. You've just met her, as you know, and you have to switch off. You have to switch off at times, otherwise it'd drive your other half nuts. It'd drive 4 girls. It'd drive them nuts. Son-in-laws and grandkids. Never even talk about it to them, but it's always there. You're always looking for a little bit of an answer. You're always looking for a little bit of a way in to a conversation. See whether you can tweak a bit of information out of somebody, because vast majority of this subject is sat in people's minds, and there's accounts and there's stories far better than yours, far better than mine, that are just going to grave with people. And if we could open it up, if we could get people to actually start talking and open the doors to this subject, I think the public at large, the populace, would realise just how massive it is, because everybody, not every family, I don't just mean every family, has got somebody who's had an experience. I mean, everybody in every family has had an experience. And there'll be people listening to this and go, "Well, I haven't." But they actually sat down and contemplated for a bit. And they think, "Oh yeah, that did happen, and that were strange." I'm not saying everything can't be explained, but there's a monstrous amount of information out there that there's no explanation for. And it's true paranormal. It's true unexplained phenomena, not phenomenon, not just singular. It's massive. It just goes across the board. And what another interesting thing, Nick, is the fact that spiritualism, and they get into that genre, and people go to see spiritualists, and they hear voices allegedly from beyond the grave. UFO guys, nuts and bolts UFO researchers, they want to see structured craft. That's what they see. And cryptid researchers, they talk to people who've had these incredible experiences. I'm not saying that then they see cryptids, but they go to places and they follow that path, and that's what they're wanting to see. And I'm not sure, if this phenomena, it's not singular, this phenomena is one thing. So we'll call it the phenomena, as in lots of things, but phenomenon, just coming from one single source. Now, I'm not setting that in stone and saying that's what I believe, but I've said before, I spoke to Andrew Collins about it, and if anybody's not familiar with Andrew, you see him on Ancient Aliens and stuff. I'm not name dropping, by the way, people. Andrew's just a decent enough bloke. And I've said to Andrew, I wonder if this what we're looking into, what we're all searching, and you've got Joe Bloggs there that likes UFOs, and you've got Mary there that likes spiritualism, and you've got Paul here that kind of likes it all. I think it could just be one hive mind that's creating these things for all these people. I think they put it to AI recently. I could be wrong. I think they put it to AI, the incredibleness that AI is, what this is. And I think AI came up with the answer that it was coming from one source, which is interesting. Don't mean AI's right, it don't mean Paul's right. I mean, it could be that we're being visited and being interacted with lots and lots of different things, Mick, but I don't know. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? And the big question is where these things are coming from. And, you've got we had a guy on live stream this week, and I know that when this goes out, people will not know when that live stream was. When the Truth Proof live stream, we get a varied amount of guests and speakers on there from all different aspects of unexplained phenomena. But this fellow, it were all ETs, everything were the ETs. And when he's saying it, he's looking up there, and it's the ETs. How do we know they're ETs? How do we know that they're ETs? Unless we've got one sat in front of this camera now, and he's got some kind of proof that's undeniable and that he can show to the world. We've no idea. The things that I saw in childhood, the things that interacted with me, conform to what people would think were an alien grey in many aspects. In my head, they could have been demons. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they were. I just don't know, and I'm not willing to just pigeonhole myself and put myself in a little box that says that's what they were. I spoke to a researcher years ago who's quite prominent. He's got a monstrous channel on the internet, and one-on-one, I spent about 3 or 4 hours with him at somebody's house during a party, and he says, "I know what you are." And I said, I thought you were going to swear at me or something. I said, "Well, I didn't really, but." I said, "Well, what do you mean you know what I am?" He says, "You're a super soldier." I'm going back 15 years. 15 years now. And I says, "All right, am I?" And he's telling me all these things. Now, if I'd have been looking for something to identify myself as, and my mind was kind of weak, and I'm not saying this bloke were bad, but I'm just saying, I'd have been going around now, I'd have labelled myself, that's what I am. But I'm not. And I don't believe I am what he said, if I'm being truthful, but that's what he thought. Got a massive following. I'm not to say who he is. He's got an absolutely monstrous following around the world. And I'm not a super soldier. I'm just me, just same as you. I'm looking across people, camera at Mick, and Mick, and everybody else. I'm sort of familiar with, should I say, in this field that we're all involved in. We're all on an equal footing. Everybody is, and nobody's better or worse. And we shouldn't think that. And I probably just sort of rambled on a bit there, and I got on about the super soldier thing. I mean, I don't know who is a super soldier. I don't even know if they exist. Do you know what I mean? Now you've got me jumping all over the place now. We've gone to super soldiers and we're going to military abductions. Let's go to military abductions for a little bit, just temporarily. So the things that interacted with me in childhood, I've got no, and we'll jump to the military in a minute, I've got no memories, I've got nothing to suggest that I've been laid on some kind of strange pewter-coloured table in a circular craft and I've been looked down on by beings. None of that. There's none of that. I've never left the bedroom. I suspect I have. We might get to that in a moment, but in my head, I've always been just in that bedroom in a mundane, semi-detached council house in the little village called Old Dennerby. The beings looking down at me, yeah, sure, I saw them. I felt the pain. I've got the scars, so I know that they're real. But I've got no sort of memories of sort of being on board a craft that a lot of people kind of romanticise about, and if that's the word, and make it sound really fabulous. I haven't got any of that. But then you've got people saying, "Oh, this is a military abduction. It's like done by the military in my lab," and all this. I'm thinking, hold on a minute. I'm not saying it can't be true, but that'd be a sweeping statement. But in Paul's head, it's not true. Because if we'd got that kind of capability, and we won't go too political, but there's superpowers within on this planet right now that want eradicating, that want removing from this planet for the better of mankind. So if we'd got that capability, those kind of abductions would be taking place and removing people far more important than Paul Sinclair, I'll tell you now, or Mick McLaren or anybody else. Just my take on it. So if these abductions are real, and I mean, my belief is they're 100% real with what's happened to me, they're being done by an intelligence that's not of this earth. And we've just got to define if there's a noise bleeding over people. We're sat in a little garden in Bridlington and we're close to the seafront, so please don't let it detract from what you're listening to. And we've just got to define what the real is. And the real is not necessarily going to come from up there, our ET friends, as a lot of people want you to believe. May do, but it's already here. They're not, for the people that say, "Oh, these things are travelling," these things can't possibly get here because of the distances involved, and honestly, they're light years away, and it's just impossible. Well, it's not impossible because they're here. They're absolutely 100% here. We've just got to define what is the real. And I mean, they could be under the sea. They could be sat outside of me now. It could be the fact that, and I didn't say this, I think Paul Askoff said it, that he believes this. Obviously, we're looking at parallel worlds, but his analogy was like on a record, the grooves of a record, and you've got all these different existences, surviving and going about their existence, and it's just a matter of moving over. Or in my head, we're on Radio 1, and somebody else could just tweak of a dial and you're on Radio 2 and you're there. Whatever it is, it's real. It's just defining the reality.
But it's that light spectrum as well. We can only see so much.
Yeah.
So what's out there, what we can't see? Like you say, it could be sat right next to you.
This is true, and it could be observing. And whatever it is, Mick, it's always one step ahead. So if just play with the idea. If something was sat outside of you now, and I just said to you, right, we're off up to Bempton tonight, we'll take EMF meters up, and we're going to do this and do that. If you didn't want to play, and we know that's all hypothetical and silly because it's just theory, but it wouldn't, would it? It'd know exactly what you were doing. If it was stood outside here and you just can't see it because it's on a different spectrum, it's on a different kind of visibility level, then you're never going to get any interaction. The interaction is always on the terms of this otherworldly intelligence, and it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to get your head around, isn't it? Just for me, anyway.
Yeah. Like you were saying before about spiritualism, I've been in that situation myself. I've been in the spiritualist church. I've done the courses they've had in there, and when I look back now, I think what was, coming to my mind, you were putting that there, really. You know, you were putting this information in my head when I was talking to people and explaining to them who this person is coming across.
So that's interesting. So I know that we've got camera on me and not you. So you've actually received messages and given them to people.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I haven't, and I think there's some, and I don't mean you, but I think there's some charlatans out there, and I think there's some really genuine people out there.
Yeah.
You know, and one example, I think everybody's searching for something after a bereavement. Not everybody, but some people are. And when my dad passed away, I thought, me and Mary, we went to spiritualist church, and sort of sat there and what have you. And there's a woman, and she's just throwing hook out and trying to, can anybody take this? Can anybody take that? And then she's coming with, and I must be offending people what I'm going to say next, but she's coming like, she's showing you some a pot of jam, and like, oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, it's food for thought. And she's showing you flowers and all, and I'm thinking, and then, so you think, maybe they are genuine, but then something happened that's kind of threw it for me. I went on my own, only on North Street in Bridlington. Mary stayed at home, and I'm sat there, and it's full. This lady came to get the guest speaker, and I think she was from York, and as soon as they opened up, and she just went, can I come to you? And I weren't sat at the front row. I said, yeah, fine, yeah. She goes, I've got this biggish woman stood at the side of me. That she stood at the side of me now. She says, and she's got a message for you. And I can think of it now, and it kind of chokes you up, because she says, I says, yeah, go on then. She says, she wants you to tell Mary she loves her. And like, I went, whoa. I literally did. And she was talking about Mary's mum. I kind of knew it. Do you know what I mean? And to know, she couldn't have known Mary. She couldn't have known my wife. We weren't regulars. We weren't people who went there regular. And I'd just gone on my own this night, and I thought, good God, there is something to this. How could this woman know this? And then you're going to get skeptically minded people who are going to sit and listen to this and going, just coincidence, Paul. Maybe. I'm not going to argue with you. You see, I throw it open. You know, when I say to people, I've had these experiences from childhood, not to present day. I think the worst of it stopped in 1998. And they go, oh, what a load of, we'll not swear, it starts with B. What a load of rubbish. That doesn't start with B, does it? But what a load of rubbish, Paul. I'm not going to take offence at that. So it's fair enough. It's your belief. I'm not here to convince you. This is my truth. And at the end of the day, mate, the only truth that any of us can ever be really satisfied with is his own. And I'm not there to convince anybody else. When I get somebody's reporting from the website, or somebody comes to me with some kind of UFO story, if I think that it's genuine, I go over and above to find things to pack around it. Not to bolster it up and make it sound better than it is. But if I think it's genuine, then I will find other reports, if I can, around the area. Even if they're historic, or if they're within months of it or whatever, but it just adds strength and makes that witness that's come to me feel even more confident in what they're saying, because that's the biggest obstacle as researchers, as people who are interested in subject have, that it's getting the people to come forward and have the confidence to talk about what they've seen and experienced, because a lot of the time it's so traumatic. Even if it's an incredible UFO sighting, it doesn't sound traumatic, but it becomes really sort of upsetting when you start relating it to somebody and they start laughing at you, and you know what you've seen. And the abduction scenario is even worse. That is absolutely traumatizing, because it's probably one of the only invasive things to a human that there's nothing out there to help them with. We know we've got people now, there's odd doctors who've stepped out and want to look at implants, and there's psychologists who will consider it and talk about it. But when you throw net out there in the grand scheme of things, if we talk, it's not even 0.5% of the population, or the sort of doctors and psychologists and clinical professionals that's out there that'll actually touch the subject. So to get laughed at and not know where to go with the subject, it's a horrible thing. And so then you can understand, with this stigma that's attached to it, why people won't come forward. And that's why I think my job, and maybe everybody's job who's interested in the subject, is not just to treat the witness well, but if you believe what they've told you, if you think that what they're telling you is the real deal, then you've got to sort of make it as concrete as you can. You know what I mean? You've got to absolutely nail it for them, so that when they say, "Oh, I saw this on February 3rd, 1979, at this particular area," if you can come through and say, "Do you know something? Over the years, there's been other things seen there. Over the years, and in the newspaper 2 weeks before, someone else saw something." We know these are all just hypotheticals, but it's all, for me, it's all about the witness. I've had my experiences, and I've no doubt other things might happen. You know, we haven't got a diary that we can open up into the future and say this is going to happen, but no doubt in future something else will happen. But you know, in the meantime, I'm fully about just treating witness accounts with best light I can. I think that's why, mate, when we did Wolflands, we're so fortunate to get people to actually come forward and face to camera, talk about what they'd seen. You know, very lucky.
Yeah, you're right. You've got to put yourself in their position and think, you know, they're sort of putting themselves there for ridicule, aren't they?
But they're setting themselves up for a fall, and so our job is to make sure that they're treated with as much respect as possible, and no tongue in cheek, no funniness whatsoever, because that's another thing that comes with the territory. In the past, documentary filmmakers have had a different agenda to what you've maybe got, what I've got, what Chris has got, Les Drake. They've had a different agenda, and it's been, there's a chance to make a few pounds if it's for a TV program, and you know, as you we'll sit there and we'll get this person in front of us, and we'll edit out all bits where he's being really serious, and we'll just make him look like a cuckoo, and terrible. And that, once again, that stigma's attached. That's there. That's not going anywhere at any time soon. But I just think that by being as genuine as you can with witness and spending time with them, don't just drop them. I mean, my problem at the moment is I've got that much information, and I tried to reply to everybody 2 hours this morning, 6 till 8, just answering emails. And I've not even touched sides of it. And I'm only skimming along them, and they're all in folders because I want to work on them. I want to do these. I want to do justice to these things, but I ain't got enough hours in a day. I want to work on XS894, the Lightning, 1970, an aircraft that crashed in 1970. Christ, what we're going back now? We're going back 53 years nearly. September 8th, 1970. There's still mileage in it. It's still, but if I started working on that, I can't do hotels because, or very little else. Hunmanby, I start burying my head in Hunmanby, I can't do anything else. Woolsthorpe, they're all brilliant cases, and it's really difficult. So you can spread yourself too thin. You know, I've not been well the last couple of days, and I said to Mary, I might not even do these documentaries that I'm planning on doing. And she said to me, well, no, because you probably feel okay in a few days, you know, because I'm never normally ill, but I need to give my head a shake because I'm 60, not 26. That's what the doctor told me. You know, he said, you know, and it's true. It's true. You don't feel your age. That's the reason I'm not writing another book. Done 5. Thickest lad in school, me people. I've no shame in saying it. You know, I were all smart. I were all good with that.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. But when it came to English, punctuation and everything else, I were very poor. Yeah, I always knew correct context to put things over in, or just about kind of thing, and kind of thing ain't right, is it? I'm saying that now to camera, but you get the picture. And yeah, so I never thought I'd write a book. But I decided I was going to write this book, get this book down. But whatever you do, I think, not just Paul, anybody, whatever you do, just do it to the best of your ability. And there's plenty of time to write more books, providing I'm still breathing. So at the moment, I'm getting out into Forest. Last weekend we were in Forest. Me and Les, we've started filming for a new documentary.
Right.
And and it's a working title. It's Wolflands 2. How ironic, but it's not going to be. That won't be the finished title. And Wolflands at the moment is we're big film distributor, but don't think that don't read anything into that, people, because it might come back and say we don't want it. So we shall see. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice to get it out there. There's 3 years of work gone into that, so we shall see.
Yeah, you've spent a lot of time on this.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
And I know you get people getting in touch with you all the time.
When's Wolflands going to be ready? When's it going to be ready? But when you think about it, there's me and Les done that film. Me and Mary's made costume, and I sent it to Philip Mantle in week film because it's Philip that sent it to somebody for us, and he said to me, you're going to have to put reconstruction on costume shots. He says because people won't know if it's real. It's really good. But what they do, that's for literally probably in all entire film 10 to 12 seconds, as we get a cutaway to creature. And otherwise, I mean, when we first started it and I put this costume on, I looked like Bungle from Rainbow. yeah. So it was a bit of a failure. I just looked like I were in a big onesie. So, but we looked at it, we thought, right, what does it need? What does it need? And we've got about 6 masks. But because there's been slightly different descriptions from stuff seen on cliff tops to stuff seen in Broxer and Stape and everything's seen up at Skinning Grove. So we've adapted everything and we've added to it, and 5 attempts, which might not sound like a lot, but Les lives so 40 miles away. We've got to wait for night time to film these shots. We've got to be in a forest in North Yorkshire. We've got the car, all lighting in and everything. I mean, Les is not the fittest person in the world. He'll not mind me saying that. And they puff some blows a bit. So we're getting in forest. We've had Chris Wright help us. He's been invaluable, and we've pulled it off on the last one. We pulled it off, and we've got these shots that we want. But if we'd have had to buy that costume, I don't know what it would have cost. It'd have been a lot of money, and and she sat there and made that. The map, we've got a map that works all the way through the Wolflands. It's on Hessian, and it's all sketched out with area. It's not like a Picasso or anything, but it's okay. It works. And it works well. I've made the map. I've made it. I've sketched it. I've coloured it. All the narration, every bit of narration throughout the film, every single word, I've done the narration. And everything's fell in place. We're so lucky we've got Mick Park and a guy called Nick Britton who work together, who've joined forces with my daughter, who's got a music studio, and her husband, Nick. So there's 2 Nicks. That gets a bit confusing. And they've formed a company called Keys Cinematic. But that's all come about because of Wolflands. And when I say a company, it sounds really, really eyebrow. But they've formed this conglomerate where they're going to work on this type of music. And they've done music for it's a full score that works everything in the film. It's not just a piece of music that we could have bought that's just gone in and you can hear it. There's like red circles where you'd go through to Hunmanby. So as we travel through the map, you go through the circle and all the rushes and all the rips, everything. They've really worked hard on it. So it's not just about me and Les. There's a lot of other people in the background helped us. Even Mary with costume and that. It's been mammoth, and the witness was the most important thing.
People don't realise how much effort goes into making a film.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I didn't. I had no idea. I had no idea that there was so much. We've literally we've been in forest with lads from Rotherham. We've been in with them 3 times. There's somebody's alarm going off now, people. This is what you got to put up with. And we've been in forest with them 3 times. Plus we've been in on our own. Yeah, there you go. Don't cut it out. It's all good. It's life. It's real.
As a child, what is the strangest thing you remember happening to you? Strangest as well as frightening.
Yeah, good point. Good question. Um, strangest as well as frightening. I think it all rolls into one, really. You know, I mean, the first thing that I've got any recollection of is my dad waking me up, aged about 4, I think. I could have been 5. You know, we don't keep a diary, do we, when we're little children? And he woke me up to show me a sphere of light at the side of Mexborough Power Station. Mexborough Power Station cooling towers were 200 foot high. This thing looked to be about 40 to 50 foot high. It was just above the rooftops of the town of Mexborough, because we watched it then travel across the rooftops. Mid journey, unusually, I never asked him why, my dad went downstairs. I'm assuming he went into the garden to watch it. And I watched it then, and it travelled all the way across rooftops towards Swinton. I didn't know I'd seen a UFO. My dad didn't say, "Oh, this is a UFO." He didn't have a massive interest, although he did fly aircraft, and he were in our air, obviously prior to having me. You know, but that was strange. That weren't frightening. That weren't kind of nothing, but that was the catalyst, I believe. That was the start. Because after that, and I don't know how long after, it could have been a week, it could have been a year, but something tells me a short time after that, that's when I saw them, and I was fixed on this ball that were travelling, and it's a mile in distance. I'm in back bedroom of a council house in the little village of Old Dennerby. There's pasture, and then there's swampland, and then a mile away there's the town of Mexborough, and it goes on to Swinton, and I'm sort of squinting, trying to watch it go disappear. And this particular night, I remember waking up, and after this event, we'll say a month after, I don't know our timeline, and I'm looking at curtains, and they're blue, these curtains, and they're made of fiberglass. So anybody who can remember people owning fiberglass curtains, my mum had some, they were blue, like a metallic grey blue. And I can see these eyes in curtains, and there's 4 sets, there's 8. And as a child, a 4 or 5-year-old, you've got no life experience to draw on, only what you've experienced in that short time. And I'm looking at these things, and I'm thinking they're cow's eyes. It's the only thing we've got to compare them with, that size. The cows that are in pasture at back, and I'm looking at them. And I remember looking at them for ages. I can see them now, and then all of a sudden, I realised that they're moving forward, and there's a shape that's a similar colour to curtain coming out, almost chameleon-like, and going back and coming out. And the next thing I remember is that there's 2 of these beings, and they're either side of me, and I'm laid in bed, and I can't move, and I'm like moving my eyes, but I can't move. And that's another odd thing. My mum were always moving furniture about. Sometimes I were in a small bedroom at front of the house. But during these experiences, and not necessarily this one, sometimes the bed were at side at wall, and yet they'd be at either side of me, which is an impossibility. So I'm kind of rewinding back to what we talked about earlier when I said I've got no memories of ever being aboard anything, any craft or anything. It makes you wonder if you were, though, and these are screen memories that have been placed in your mind. I don't know, but they're there, and I'm crying, and I can't move, and I can't make a noise, but I know I'm crying. And that kind of continued throughout childhood. I'd have thought it was probably worth 7, 8, 9-year-old, but it up until being about 13 or 14. But if you want to talk about real fear, and I mean absolutely terrifying, is when you're laid in bed, because you're always waiting for them, and you don't tell anybody. I don't know whether we touched on this earlier, but having a dad like I had, if I'd have told him any of this kind of thing were happening, I'd have got a smack. Don't ask me why. You never got a warning off him, like, carry on with this, and you're going to bed, or you're going to get a smack if you say it again, or if you do this again. It was just there. You were rubbing your ear. You knew. So I became conditioned to it. It didn't happen every night. It didn't happen every week. It probably didn't happen every month. But I knew that I hadn't got to talk about it for some reason, and it comes on so slow. The experience, the introduction to what you're getting involved in, and you're an unwilling participant, but the introduction to what you're getting involved in comes in on so slow and so subtle, if you like, even though it hits you like full weight in the face when you see them. You don't tell anybody. There's nobody to tell. You don't even know that it's not right. You don't even know that other kids aren't experiencing it and don't say, oh. And I told one guy, one bloke now, same age as me, Adrian Kirby, was best man at my wedding. We've been friends throughout school. And I didn't even realise I'd told him. And we've kind of reconnected about 2 or 3 years ago. And he started telling me all these things I'd told him. And I didn't know. I wish I'd have known when I was writing Night People. But there you go. But yeah, there were other things that reason that take it away from the ET from me. And I'd be in bed and waiting for them. You're always waiting. You're always waiting, but you're never ready. It's kind of over and done with before you realise it's happened. But you're waiting for them, and then all of a sudden it's on your shoulder. Whatever it is on your shoulder. And I don't mean there's something sat there and I don't see anything because I daren't look, but it's talking to me, and it's in a different language, and it's slow motion, and it sounds demonic is the best word that I could use. And what were its purpose? What were its reason? In my head, to create fear, to create absolute terror in a little boy, and that's what it did. Absolute fear. If I'd got a chance to not experience any of that again, that would be the thing that I'd never want to experience again. It was far worse than seeing these beings. And then you've got the other people who talk about the subject, who experience absolutely almost some kind of spiritual experience or euphoric. Now, I've never had that. And what I can't get my head around is these type of people want to steer everybody into the belief system that it's all love and light and it's all brilliant. Well, maybe it is for you, but it weren't for me. And that's what you'd have to accept. We're all dealing with our own truth. And you know what, Mick? I honestly believe that the people who experience these fabulous experiences are dealing with the same kind of entities to the ones that are dealing with experiencing the horrific things. And I think it's just a means to an end, and they're wanting different things from different people. Fear is what they wanted from me. I honestly believe that.
The idea of fear and you waiting for that expectation all that time in between this happening, that's going to bring fear until it eventually does happen and you get more fear. So they can, definitely feed off. I mean, it almost sounds like, the jinn and how they work.
I've had people from other cultures contact me while we've been doing website, while I've been just doing what I do, telling me that what I'm experiencing is the jinn. Yeah. And I'm not going to hold my hand up and say, "Oh, you're right," but I think it's got to be considered.
Well, we've got to think about that, because I do myself. I get people saying, "Yeah, it's the jinn," but you've got to think the jinn is a recent name as well.
Well, I don't know that.
It's summer. I mean, I don't know the name of it before being called jinn. To me, it's just them, but they were going way before, and the Muslim.
Well, I think probably what we're dealing with. I mean, it don't matter what culture we're dealing with, and how far back we go, and the different terminology and different words that people used for these other intelligences, we're probably ultimately all dealing with the same thing. Yep. It's jumping to religion temporarily. We're probably all praying to the same religion. It's just that culture and has sort of moulded us all into a different way of looking at it. It's a shame, really, isn't it? I mean, here we are talking about unexplained phenomena, and we touched on religion, but I was brought up in a Church of England school. There were only 28 of us. 28 of us in school, and we had religion rammed down our throat every day. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. No, in a way, it kind of turned me away from it. But I don't know. It's just one of the things, isn't it?
Yeah. Religion is. There's a lot of things that can send you to look at these things in a different perspective.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and there's lots of things within within scriptures, within the Bible, that if you looked at them from an unexplained phenomena point of view, because it is unexplained phenomena that they're describing. When we talk about a star hanging over a stable, some people would interpret it as a UFO. Planets don't suddenly move and hang over a stable. It's probably not the place to talk about this, but it kind of makes you think. There's all manner of things. Look at Ezekiel's prophecy, and he saw beings on sapphire wheels within wheels. I think. Obviously, I ain't got anything here in front of me to sort of quote, but and he saw people with many faces, and it's a strange one, But no, and just to stay with it just for a moment. The people of religion, the devout. I'm loath to name any particular religion, but people of religion believe wholeheartedly in what they're looking at in these books, in these holy books. Yet they frown on me, on you, on other people talking about seeing what we perceive as aliens or UFOs, and I don't really think we're separating it. Really, there's not much between either of it. I don't know, just my take on it.
No, I think we're thinking the same. Us two are thinking the same way. There are these things that are real. They've been here a long time, and how people look with their religion or look with whatever like they believe in, they'll see it in a different light.
They'll see it in a different light, and it's like what we touched on earlier with the researchers who are into the structured nuts and bolts UFOs, and the researchers who are looking at spheres of light, and the people who are interested in poltergeist phenomena. They're seeing it from that box that they're in, and it's same with anything in it. That's the way things shape us. But all good.
I think we've all got to look at it a different way, and I think some people come to realize that it is one.
We've just got to throw that net out and realise that when you pull it in, you're going to catch a lot of different things, and they're all related in some inexplicable way. It's like when we get up onto these cliff tops and we realise that, particularly around Bempton and Speeton and other parts of UK and all around the world, we've got this. It's multi-phenomena. It's not just one thing that's being seen or one thing that's being experienced. So then we come back to this figurehead, this godhead, should we call it? Probably a bit strong, but this hive mind. Is it one all-encompassing intelligence that's just showing this man who actually believes that cryptids are roaming these cliff tops? It's just showing him that. And this guy, this Paul Sinclair's wanted to film these lights out at sea. So let's show him some of them lights out at sea. I'm not necessarily subscribing to that as cast iron proof, people, and the truth. I just think that we've got to play with all these ideas and all these scenarios rather than just saying, as a lot of researchers do, this is what it is, I know. And as soon as somebody tells me that, I just switch off from them. I don't want to know. I don't mean I don't want to know them, but I just think, how do you know? How do you know?
Because nobody knows.
No, nobody knows. No, that's the reason it's unexplained phenomena.
Yeah, could you give me an account of some strange events that happened to you while you've been out there in the field?
Yeah. There's quite a few, mate. But one that springs to mind is quite recent. We spend quite a bit of money on cameras, thermal cameras as well, all sorts of things. But on top of all that, we've also got tri-field meters, Geiger counter, EMS meters. I think I've got 3. I don't really talk about them that much because when you watch TV programs, you look at all these haunted shows and the lights show up and everybody starts screaming and it becomes a bit of a joke. And although we take them out there and see, I wouldn't say last few weeks, I would think about 4 weeks ago, we had a bit of a result after years and years and years with EMF meters. And the first night we didn't really capitalise on it, and me and Bob, who everybody knows who comes out with me, we're asking it questions in the dark, and this meter just flying over and stopping, and then saying, we're asking it to stop, and you can stop now, and it is doing. And to the point where when I went to ask a question, flew over. Now, Bob said, it's reading your mind, this. And it were unusual. We'd never had it before. We put the phones out of the way. But the next thing to do, actually, is to get a phone and just show people how far close phone has to be before it's activated, because there were nothing anywhere near it anyway. So Mick Park came through about 3 weeks ago. He'd been doing music for Wolflands, and we went up onto cliff tops, and he wanted to just observe sky. We had quite a long time up there. It was close to midnight. And I got this EMF meter out. We're walking down towards where the military guys had their encounter. Nobody about it, 11:30, 12 o'clock, so we left all this equipment on bird stand and walked down, mixed filming, and I asked it something. I can't remember what, and it flicked over. And it stayed there on red. It's not voice activated. You know what I mean? It's not. And I said to it, it stayed there on red, then went down. I said, can you give us a little bit more, please? Bosh, it went straight up again. And it stayed there, and I went, can you switch off, please? It switched off. Now, Nick filmed it, sent it me, and I've just put it onto our YouTube channel. That, it's not proof of anything, but it tells me that something was interacting with us on an intelligent level. It was too much to be coincidence. So we will be trying more of that. And then if we go back, probably 2018, and we go to when the animals were being killed in unfortunate circumstances. I mean, this farmer lost 50 sheep, faces stripped, eyes removed, really, really bad. And I used to go onto these fields at about 4 in the morning with permissions, and I'd do a grid pattern. And then I'd drop into a wood, go through wood, and then come back. Now, the farmer had told me earlier in the week that he'd lost a lamb. Be about the size of a Labrador. They weren't tiny, this one. And everybody knows, I think, if you look in fields, they're all sprayed with a number. We'll call it 35. And he said, I've lost a lamb in week. He said, and I lost it, say, on the Friday. He says, and I've looked all weekend. He said, I can't find it. He says, he's got 2 dogs, and he's been in with his pickup, and he's gone round the field, and his dogs have looked, and it's not there. And he told me, because I ring him and say, look, I'm going to go up there, so there's no need for you to come up. I'll be up there on Monday morning. So it had been missing for 3 days. I might not have got the exact days right here, people. And I did the grid search of the field. Just getting light. I can see everything, and we all know that the grass is green and sheep are a mucky white colour. So we're not going to mistake one if we miss one. So I come across the field, open the big gate, and I'm looking onto this field. All green. Sheep are over the other side. They got to know me. I've been going up years. I quite got to like them. They're interesting things because they liked my little dog. They weren't bothered. They'd let him just mill around them. And I got to understand the mannerisms of behaviour. So I could walk about and they wouldn't run or anything. Did the grid, no sheep. And I'd not really got this one. He'd lost one, and I've not got it in my head. I weren't thinking about it constantly. Went into wood, did my little walk through wood, come back, and then don't do a grid. That's pointless. I've already been like there an hour and a half before. So I just come out, go to the big gate, which goes onto another field, and shut it and look. And in front of me, probably 30 or 40 yards away, was a lamb laid there in the field. And I knew it was the one he'd lost. So I went up to this lamb, sort of put my hand on the side of it. It's absolutely cold. It's been missing now for 2 to 3 days. There's no bloating on it or anything. It's not been attacked by other animals, fox or badger. Eyes are missing, its ears are missing, front left leg's missing, and it's laid there and it's clap cold, and it weren't there at 4 in the morning, but it was there at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Number 35, we'll call it. I rang him up, so I used to ring him if I found any, and then if they were big, I'd hang around 20 minutes, and he'd come and we'd get them back at truck. And I said, you know that lamb that you lost earlier in the week? He said, yes. I said, what number was it? He said, 35. Because I can't remember that number, people. And I said, it's here. Because it can't be. Now, the farmer's thought process, and he was a lovely guy, to be honest, because when I found out about him, I went and spoke to him. Didn't tell him all about unexplained phenomena, and I kept it all out of it, even though he knew that's one thing eventually. his thought process was that a fox had taken it and a fox had brought it back, but not bothered eating it. Took its ears, took its eyes, and took its front left leg. I mean, if I were having a lamb, I would want one of them big meaty back ones.
Yeah.
You know, so, sound like terrible, don't I, people? But that tells me that something really strange had happened, and akin to the things that happened at Skinwalker. You know, that were a really strange occurrence. So although I'd spent from 2017 to just at beginning of 2019 finding these unfortunate animals, not only sheep, but deer, badger, fox, although I'd spent all that time finding them, that to me, because I never got to grips with what were doing it, never ever saw what were doing it, and I was going on with a thermal camera in dark at 4 in the morning through winters. That told me that something highly unusual were at work. You know what I mean? An absolutely super elusive. It's got to be a predator. It's a predator of sorts, isn't it? Even though it's not consuming what it's taking. And you know, police were involved as well. Not with that one, but in early stages, and they staked the field out one night, and they found one while they were in the field. Do you know what I'm saying? They never saw anything do it, and there were one there at first light of day. It's not a little field; it's a huge field, but you know, really unusual. And not only that, on the cliffs below these fields, a short distance away, rock anglers, were also finding harbour porpoise, which would be 3 to 4 foot long. Huge holes through the jaws, and no apparent reason for why. So yeah, it was a strange time that with the animals. Finding badger carcasses with the heads removed, and they were skinned around the waist, and it looked like they got little fur trousers on and the rest were skinned. Really, really strange, and it makes you wonder what the motives are for doing such things. And I know that we're going to get people, because a lot of this is in Truth 3, but anybody who listens to this, somebody might be listening to this and saying, well, people will have done that. I can assure you at 4 in the morning, and I spent at least 2 years, I spent 2017, 18 and beginning of 19, 4 in the morning, trying to find what possibly were doing this. And I were having to drive a mile up a private road to get to fields. I don't think it were done by people. Let's put it that way. I could understand somebody potentially catching a sheep. You know, on foot, a fit young bloke could probably catch one in dark. You try catching a roe deer or a badger or a fox and doing it to it. I'd suggest it were impossible. You know, without a gun. Yeah, so yeah, they were strange ones, Mick, and you know, there's lots more strange things happened, but too much to be coincidence. I mean, Chris Turner and Jerry Denning came up to cliff tops. Jerry had never seen anything. Chris had never seen anything, and that night, these lights put on some kind of display. It were amazing. I mean, blew Jerry away because he's a light and sound man, and he was really amazed by what he'd seen. And Chris were. Is that coincidence? You know, I took a guy up called Lee Haywood. Lovely guy, Lee. He went up sceptical, but in a good way. He wanted to explain what I was looking at. He was going to tell me what they were. And I'm setting cameras up, overlooking the sea, or a camera, should I say. And we'd already seen the lights, seen them. As we arrived on Cliff Lane, he said what they looked like, and they were there. But then as I turned around to talk to him, there's a huge one in the field with us. And it's below the brow of the hill, and it's huge. And Lee's words were, he thought the influence the light were giving off were as big as a Volkswagen vehicle. Absolutely huge. And as I'm pulling the camera around and putting it on, this thing's just gone. Just fascinating. Imploded, just literally gone, Mick. So yeah, all strange.
Could you talk about your books and where people can get them?
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in Truth Proof books, we have a website, truthproof.uk. And also like to say, if you've got any UFO reports or anything unexplained, fire them into the website. And between myself and Don Lodge, who runs the website for me, they'll get put on. So you can buy paperbacks there. You can also get paperbacks on eBay. And if you want the Kindles, they're on Amazon. So we've just finished Wolflands, but we don't know where that's going to get placed yet. And yeah, I mean, I do plan on doing more books. I just think that at 60 years old, what an horrible thing to say, 60 people. Can you imagine that? Horrible that. At 60 years old, that's a frightening thing. I hate it. I hate saying it, but I can't avoid it, can I? I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to start dyeing my hair. But at 60 years old, that's the third time I've said it. We've got to understand that there's only so many years that I'm going to be wandering about in these forests, sleeping night rough in forests, and spending all day with a great bloody rucksack on, because I always take far too much, and chewing up and down hills and ravines. So there's plenty of time to write books. I guess that's what I'm saying. When my knees feel like they can't cope with it, and my lung power's just not good enough to do it. At the moment, everything's good. So we just keep sort of chipping away, and that's the idea. And I'm out all the time, usually, even up onto cliff tops. In summer, not so much when it's a bit touristy and you get all bird spotters up there. But other than that, last weekend we were up in Forest, and no doubt we'll be there again. And I've got some things to plan to do with Chris Turner and some more with Les. And it just never stops. And you guys are the same, I suppose.
Yeah, we're within the last within the last month, we've been out nearly every other night.
Yeah.
Like doing a few. So can we just talk about your oncoming projects, with your ongoing projects with Chris, and what's going on there?
Yeah, well, projects with Chris, we've got a few in pipeline. We're going to kind of revive a documentary that we started years ago, well before COVID, called Superliminal. I've come up with this word. I still like it, but I don't think we'll be using it as a running title. But we're going to revive that. We've got a few witness accounts, so from Speeton, one from close to Hull, huge triangle that's been seen, that we're going to do and get some reenactments. Plus the witnesses are going to stand in front of camera. I'm looking forward to getting into them. There's the queue, people. Well done. We had an alarm earlier. I don't know whether he's going to cut that, but we shall see. And so I'm looking forward to getting into them. And then, as regards Les, as I said, we've just spent 3 years on Wolflands. Massive learning curve. Never embarked on anything as big. I mean, it's an hour and a half, the film, and it's tons in it, absolutely tons. I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, because I think personally, and I suppose I'm biased, but I think it's best cryptid film certainly that's ever been done in the UK. It's far. I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but it's far better than Elusive. Far better than Bringing Down the Light. It's just better, in my opinion. And Elusive's great, but the amount of work that we've poured into it, the reenactments, we've included the former police detective Tony Dodd, who's passed away, a great researcher. We've put Tony's work in Dalby Forest into it, and had to get fully suited up in white suits, stretchers, shop mannequins, because they were what the authorities were saying were found in Dalby Forest. So we took all them in. So when you're talking about the logistics of getting in these locations and taking all this stuff in with you, and by the way, for anybody listening saying we filmed in Dalby Forest, a lot of the things weren't filmed in the locations that we're covering because of permissions. We've had to use other locations, but it's as accurate and as true to the events of the day as we can gather. Why did we film Tony Dodd? Just to jump back to Wolflands for a moment, because the gamekeeper, when he had his experience in 2002, he never knew that Tony Dodd, just a few miles away in Dalby Forest, were researching unusual creatures and strange happenings. The two guys never met, but it just adds more. This is what I was talking about earlier. It adds more meat to the bone of the gamekeeper's sighting. It adds more credibility to him. Plus Tony's, I mean, God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore, but yeah, plus Tony. So yeah, these projects are all ongoing, and maybe I'd like to do some stuff myself as well. You know, we've invested quite a bit of money in some even better cameras, so we shall see where it leads. And on that note, Nick, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks to you too.